I was ex-corporate, had quite a fast-paced career in my early 20s, then became mum and gave it all up after my third son, even though I'd pushed for the first ever, I think, job share in a company like BP. It was actually on my 40th birthday that I remember saying my periods just suddenly started going haywire. All the times where I had felt like I was losing my brain. I actually was worried about early onset Alzheimer's.
That's what you thought you had?
I was just so worried. I was like, what's happening to my brain?
Is menopause different for Southeast Asian women?
So South Asian women will actually go through the menopause 5 or 6 years earlier. You know, in the UK and most parts of the world, the average white female will go through it at 51. So if you do the maths, around 45 or 46 is when South Asian women are likely to go through it. So I'm still on a mission to make sure that we get this messaging out and the solutions out to women, especially in the South Asian community. I guess I'm kind of embracing what my body is allowing me to do. You know, when I research the science behind what your amazing body is doing and the biology and the reason that your body's trying to hold on to the little amounts of estrogen that are produced in that stomach area, in your adipose tissue, it's when I hear things like that and I really understand it, just this little bit of acceptance, right, that we need to give, and we need to just be kinder to ourselves.
Welcome to Grit and Grace with me, Debbie Wasco. In this series, I'll be chatting to a whole host of incredible guests to discuss the unique challenges, triumphs, and transformative experiences that often define us as women in midlife. Through shared personal stories and advice, we're going to tackle some of the most important and relevant women's issues to date. I see this as more than just a podcast. It's a movement to change the narrative around midlife so that women see their second act as a time of opportunity, renewal, and excitement. So join me, Debbie Wasco, on this journey of grit and grace, sponsored by the Better Menopause, science-driven solutions for women in menopause. I'm absolutely thrilled to be joined by an incredible influencer, author, and personal trainer who has become a true beacon of inspiration in the world of midlife wellness. Her approach to health is all about feeling good, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally too. She's built a platform that encourages women of all ages to embrace their strength, build confidence, and prioritize self-care. Get ready for some real talk. And let's dive into this exciting conversation. Welcome to Grit and Grace, Lavina Mehta. Lavina, hi.
Hi.
Thank you for joining me in my living room.
Thank you. So lovely to be in your home.
Now, Lavina, you have built an incredible platform with your Feel Good with Lavina brand. Talk to me about how it all started.
Oh gosh, how long have we got? So, as you know, it was pretty unplanned, this whole journey. I was ex-corporate, had quite a fast-paced career in my early 20s, and then became mum and gave it all up after my third son, even though I'd pushed for the first ever, I think, job share in a company like BP with my elder two. And I kind of just took some time out just to be mum, didn't have any major plans. Being South Asian, it was probably very unlikely that I would have predicted I'd be a personal trainer at the age of 40. And I qualified, as I've told you, it was really my love for strength training and what it did for me personally, not just physically, because I was double my size and probably on the road to type 2 diabetes in my mid-30s. It was more my mental transformation, and that's where, you know, my slogan, exercise for sanity, really comes from. And I just sat the exams, Debbie, when the kids were asleep for my own knowledge. My mum had researched all the science behind food, and similar to what's happened to me, she kind of stumbled on a passion later on in life. And I really wanted to learn about the science behind exercise, not think it would be a new career. And it's kind of just grown from me training women before the pandemic, also in my home gym, to then obviously going live twice a day during the COVID pandemic to try and get people exercise snacking and just moving, and to really spread the awareness of how powerful movement can be for our health right now, but especially for our long-term health, and especially during phases that all women are going to go through, like the menopause.
Lavina, talk to me a little bit about your experience of perimenopause and menopause and how that's impacted on the work that you do.
Yeah, so I actually didn't realise that my perimenopause symptoms started around the age of 39 or 40. It was actually on my 40th birthday that I remember saying my periods had just suddenly started going haywire, and they were like clockwork, you know, up till then. But it was also the same point in time that I'd qualified as a personal trainer. I obviously started sharing things on social media, and it was a busy time starting off a new career that I didn't actually realise that all the things I had been going through. I only joined the dots about 2.5 years ago when the menopause has kind of become more mainstream, and I actually watched the Channel 4 documentary, which brought me to tears because my grandmother had Alzheimer's, and it's such a taboo subject, especially in the South Asian community. But all the times where I had felt like I was losing my brain, you know, forgetting my memory, constantly the family saying to me, "Mummy, you've forgotten something." I actually was worried about early onset Alzheimer's.
That's what you thought you had?
I was just so worried. I was like, where's my, you know, what's happening to my brain? And when I saw those scans in the documentary showing the changes in your brain that happen in midlife and through the menopause, it was just that big emotional impact. You know, I've got that feeling again right now where I just realised, actually, I'm going through something. There were other symptoms like anxiety that I had never experienced before. And I was quite open with social media because, you know, I'd kicked off Instagram lives twice a day. I was on news and TV a lot. And I remember saying on some of them that I had anxiety before I started this exercise class. But I feel so much better afterwards. And a few people started picking up on it, saying, you know, "Are you okay, Lavina? I heard you talk about anxiety." And it was just a very different feeling to anything I'd experienced before. The sleepless nights had kicked off. Again, I kind of put that down to being a mum and, you know, starting off something new. And I think a lot of women suppress it. But when I realised, and when I then went on my Instagram in tears, very openly, sort of declaring that I'm in perimenopause, I was only 42, I've just realised. I think for a lot of my community, and especially the South Asian women, I just got bombarded, Debbie, with messages sent privately of women at rock bottom, women suffering, saying, "I don't even know what the word perimenopause was." Obviously, I'd never really talked about menopause in my family growing up. And a lot of, you know, taboos around women's health, not really talking about periods or sex, or let alone the menopause. But it's when I got those really personal stories that I thought I've got to carry on and start raising some awareness about this. And I obviously did all my research, read lots of books, tried to become more knowledgeable and more empowered about it. And I then soon became a patron of Menopause Mandate, which, you know, I have some incredible women that started Menopause Mandate, and we've been trying together to try and really raise awareness and campaign for women's health. And I guess I've used my platform to try and especially highlight the importance of exercise and lifestyle changes to help women navigate and to thrive through the phase. And obviously I wrote my book, which we have over here. The Feel Good
Show us
Fix.
your book.
Oh, thank you.
And
yes,
tell
my
us
baby.
a bit about the book. Yeah, your baby.
My baby girl. So
Yeah.
yes, she's pink and red, my favourite colours. It's the Feel Good Fix, published by Penguin. Boost energy, improve sleep and move more through menopause and beyond. It is basically, I hope, a guide where you can literally just dip in and out of. It's based on my concept of exercise snacking, which I discovered in 2018, which I thought is a game changer because it's really the science showing that even short bite-sized amounts of movement, even as short as a minute, even 4 seconds backed by a study, can actually do so much for key indicators of your health, from everything like your blood pressure to cholesterol to blood sugar levels to obviously weight management. And if you can sprinkle these snacks in through the day at regular intervals, they can be as effective, if not more effective, than the longer workout that we just struggle to fit into our lives.
So a snack, what constitutes a snack? Give us some snack examples, or show us even.
Yes, I've just opened up, well, you'll like this one because I know you're into it, full body strength snack.
Yes.
So I have 1, 3, 5, 10-minute snacks. They're all laid out like a recipe, pun intended. Really easy method so that the font is lovely and big, very bespoke font for perimenopausal eyes.
Yes, very important. Yeah.
And there's also QR codes straight to the videos of the exercises. It's really to help women know there's quite a holistic spectrum. Obviously, I really want all women over the age of 30 to be doing some strength training, but it covers mobility, balance, stretch, cardio. It also, a third of the book is all on mental health, and it's like little hacks that are backed by science, are all evidence-based, that I want women to just have a toolkit that you can dip in and out of. You know, things like, you know, cold water therapy to breath work, which is what we just talked about before.
I need to be doing.
Yeah, and things that we can do. I obviously talk about like the main symptoms at the beginning. I share a lot about my journey. And the goal is, ideally, if we could hit even 11 minutes, which is much more approachable than the government guidelines of exercise. But 11 minutes has incredible health benefits.
So frame that for me in a typical day. So if you're a 50-year-old woman listening to this podcast, as a lot of our listeners are, feeling like, I can't do this, I don't have the time, I'm too busy, I'm too shy, I feel self-conscious, like what do they do?
So the beauty is you can do these snacks anywhere. So you could be in your pajamas, you don't have to have any fancy equipment. You know, I still do the free workouts with my mother-in-law every week on YouTube, and those are literally using tin cans, plastic bottles. So I want exercise to be accessible to everyone. You could start off in the morning like I do with some balance work. While you're brushing your teeth, standing on one leg, there's targets in the balance snack based on your age, but I'm 46, so I think it's about 43 seconds with my eyes open and about...
Each leg,
and 13 seconds with my eyes closed, which is tricky, but you've got your sync there to support you. So I just do that now automatically, and I know that's going to help correct muscular imbalances, so any runners or anyone doing anything higher intensity, that's really important. But most importantly, it's going to reduce my risks of falls. And, you know, there's a study I quote, which is quite morbid, but probably good for midlife women, because I really want midlife women listening to know that your midlife health is your biggest predictor of your long-term health. But if we're not able to balance on one leg for 10 seconds, you're almost twice as likely to die in the next decade.
My goodness, say that again.
I know. If you're not able to balance on one leg for 10 seconds, you're almost twice as likely to die in the next decade. And I know that's morbid and shocking, but I'm putting it out there because I just want us to remember that things like balance are really important. And we hear about, you know, osteoporosis, hip fractures in women being at such higher rates, and we know how much effect that has on your quality of life as you age. So balance snack number 1. I often tie that in, followed by 10 squats, so that's just air squats.
So this is whilst you're doing your teeth?
Yes, I've done the teeth, I've got my electric toothbrush, that's my timer, so I do about a minute on each side. I then add in 10 squats. I sometimes, when I'm just doing my moisturising and all my little steps for my skincare, I just add in little things, like even if it's my pelvic floor squeezes, there's a pelvic floor snack in the book because that's so important as well. And then through the day, the best way with exercise snacking is to tie on to an existing habit. So when I boil my kettle or I put the coffee in the coffee machine, the whole family knows. They will see me do 20 star jumps, I've timed it. I do another 10 squats and I do 10 countertop press ups. So I'm doing the sort of king and queen of strength moves, just body weight, but obviously you could just keep a kettlebell, you know, in your kitchen, on the island as a little reminder.
Handy accessory,
I sometimes add in tin cans, you know, with a bit of boxing, so I'm getting a little bit of HIIT, which is nice because it's not too much, because we want to lower our cortisol levels and not stress the body too much, especially in menopause. And then through the day, like if you are sitting at your desks and if you are hybrid working, we know that people working from home especially, or desk-based workers, can be sitting for about 10 hours a day. So I challenge the people that may get their hour-long workout done in the morning to then think about adding in exercise, snacking, because it's the sedentary lifestyles that are really, detrimental in terms of increasing our risks of things like type 2 diabetes, heart disease, cancers, like all of these things that we're more susceptible to getting in midlife. So really, I want people to add a snack in every 30 minutes if you're working from home. If you're stuck on your screens, you could simply turn your camera off if you're not required to speak. And, just simple things like heel raises, just getting some weights at your desk, or just doing some mobility, some stretches to help prevent the tech neck. It's about keeping our joints, our muscles, everything moving, supple, and hopefully a little bit less pain-free, because I do hear about, back pain being the probably worst thing at the moment with our sedentary lifestyles. So it's about getting it in, little reminders through the day. I finish my day always with a stretch. I feel like it's my moment of self-care. It could just be 3 minutes, but it makes such a difference just to do a few cat-cows, a downward dog, a child's pose, some legs up the wall. They're all kind of in the book. Lots of ideas. And obviously you choose things that you like, and even as simple as hitting 5 minutes outdoors in between meetings. If you can just get outside, we know the power of nature. But if you can't get outside, I can hear the hail today.
Yeah,
even
today's
while
not
we're
a good
recording.
exercise snacking outside day.
Yeah, stair snacking. I've got a study that proves if you could just use 3 flights of stairs 3 times a day, so tying it on ideally after meals, that would really help to control your blood sugar levels. And we know how, for me, I was on a roller coaster before I used to understand this. And that would affect my energy, my mood. But now I've got this sort of toolkit that, being in nature has got its own section. There is so much science proving how incredible it is for our mental health. So just get out for a feel-good walk if you can.
Lavina, you mentioned menopause and the Southeast Asian community. Can you just talk about that a little bit in terms of the environment in which you grew up, what you saw in your family, what you see in your community? Is menopause different for Southeast Asian women?
I'm so glad we're talking about this because, I try and mention this everywhere I go. So South Asian women will actually go through the menopause 5 or 6 years earlier than the average white female. So we know, in the UK, most parts of the world, the average white female will go through it at 51. So if you do the maths, around 45 or 46 is when South Asian women are likely to go through it. The research is small, but it is indicating.
Why? Do we know why that is?
We don't. We know the Swan study picked it up. I think it's to do with just ethnicity, genetics, especially in India, they're saying there's a lot more research around it. What's interesting is that my path is following the same, and I did ask my mum, who obviously didn't really remember.
Did she have a sense of it?
She didn't really remember much about struggling through the menopause. It definitely happened, but she was of a time where they just kind of got on with it. I don't know if your mum was similar, but
oh, totally.
Yeah,
my
totally
mum can't remember. Well,
denial
what's interesting with
almost.
my mum is she can't remember, but I feel like we can remember.
Yes, exactly.
Yes,
that.
from a sort of mood perspective, probably.
Exactly. And she just got on with it. They were just, my parents came in the 60s. They were very hardworking. They wanted to start everything from scratch. It was a time where they were just focusing on bringing us up in the best means possible. So I think she just got on with it and never discussed it. But I did ask her, when did you hit the menopause? And it was around the age of 46. And I am now 46. So the penny has definitely dropped for me that I started my symptoms in my late 30s. So I really want anyone that is listening that may be South Asian or has a South Asian friend to mention this to them, because I don't want to alarm women. I'm very positive about my messaging about the menopause. I want young women not to be afraid. I want women, I know you're on the same page about giving them tools and solutions to help us thrive through this. We definitely don't want women, leaving the workplace. That's another big passion of mine when I go into workplace and do talks, because if I was still in the workplace and the role that I did in my 20s, going through everything that I'd been, I really want to make sure that we retain that talent that we have in our midlife women. I think it's important that you just track your symptoms. And I always like to highlight that 1 in 4, yes, may have debilitating symptoms, but 1 in 4 also don't have symptoms. And you could be one of those women, right, listening. But it's really good to keep track of your body, especially with cultural differences and the barriers I still face in my community, where there's a lot of women that may not still understand it. They may not be on social media. They may not have read my book. So it's really trying to filter down into communities. That's where I go into, you know, one of the largest groups is the BAPS Neeson Temple. There's thousands of women that I spoke to on International Women's Day, and that was from all generations, from grandmothers down to little children. And that's a safe space for communities like mine, where they will really trust that information if it's in their temple, you know, if it's within their community. So I'm still on a mission to make sure that we get this messaging out and the solutions out to women, especially in the South Asian community.
And talk to us a bit about what is next for you. So last year was the year of the book, and I think really landing this message that women can get it done and that they can invest in themselves even when they're busy, and that there is a way forward that impacts both on health and mental health. What do you have coming up next?
So I do have some news around just what we've been discussing, that I am hitting the menopause at the age of 46. And I did try HRT, Debbie, but it was, you know, a few years ago. I tried 3 different variations, and I was probably one of the women where it wasn't the silver bullet, and I didn't wake up overnight feeling great. And I was, you know, guiding my GP at the time, where this menopause conversation was at quite early stages. I decided to come off HRT after about a year of trying. And I wanted to also see what my body was doing, because I had a feeling after speaking to my mum that as I approached, you know, 45, 46, would my periods still be coming? They were still infrequent. I was still getting so much bloating. Things just didn't feel right. So I went with my gut and I came off HRT. And that's where, you know, I'd been living and breathing all the lifestyle solutions, but that's where the research and the book came out. And, you know, I spent so many months researching studies and finding out the toolkit, that I lived and breathed the stuff, and it's really helped me manage my symptoms. You've seen me, you know, thriving, I guess is probably the word I want to use, because I do want women to feel inspired, you know, that also in midlife you can feel so lost. You may have given up your careers, you may not be in a career that's fulfilling you. So I want to give women that sort of inspiration, that you can start something new and you can do things for yourselves. You know, self-care is so important. So I've been living and breathing all the lifestyle, and I guess my message is really that I'll be promoting, whether women are on HRT or not. I really want us to have that foundation of holistic lifestyle approaches, especially exercise. That needs to be there whether you're on HRT or not. So I think I'll be sharing my journey a lot more about it, and I'm continually trying to, you know, help all ages and really make exercise inclusive to as many people as I possibly can. So thank you for even this platform. You know, it gives me such a great opportunity to share some of the tools with people.
And this podcast is about grit and grace, and that's my mantra. Maybe reflect a little bit on what that means to you, how you see grit, how you feel about grace showing up in your everyday life. And do you have a mantra that you use to get you through good times and bad times?
There's definitely bad times. I always point out on social media that you only see the highlights. And I think, you know, as life goes on, you know, as we get older and approach midlife, we kind of look back on all of our experiences, and Lavina has had her fair share of experiences. I share a lot on socials, but you know, my friends and family will know the things that I've gone through. I guess the way I've been brought up and seeing my parents, you know, really work hard in the UK when they came over has shown me that grit, that determination, and that's something, you know, I hope to pass on to my 3 boys. I feel like there's a lot of hard work, you know, behind the scenes. You see me always, you know, with that hopefully sort of positive energy. You've seen me squatting in like places like Parliament and everywhere I go to try and spread it and normalise it. But behind the scenes, you know, we've all worked day and night on the things that we're passionate about. But I think what's really great is what I'm doing now is I feel like it's my path. I feel like everything that's happened has been for such a reason, like someone is really guiding me from above. So I'm really enjoying the journey, and I guess the grace is really that I'm trying to grow old gracefully, and I guess I'm kind of embracing what my body is allowing me to do. You know, when we even hear about the common weight gain and the belly fat, you know, I've been through it, but when I research the science behind what your amazing body is doing and the biology and the reason that the fat is, you know, it's just the lack of estrogen, and your body's trying to hold on to the little amounts of estrogen that are produced in that stomach area, in your adipose tissue. It's when I hear things like that and I really understand it, that I then try and just this little bit of acceptance, right, that we need to give, and we need to just be kinder to ourselves, I feel. So we are women that want to do a lot, but I think we also need to make sure that we are looking after ourselves so that we can look after everyone around us.
That's a wonderful message to end on, Lavina. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for being here with me for Grit and Grace today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for listening today, and thanks to our sponsor, The Better Menopause. For more content like this, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel or follow us on socials. See you next time, as I'm joined by more incredible guests here on Grit and Grace with me, Debbie Wasco.